If you're thinking about getting a small compressor to use around the home workshop, there's a few things to bear in mind. This is a small one, not for industrial use, but I'll run through one or two of the things that you might need to know about these. This particular one was cheap enough second hand, cheap enough new. I think they're an Aldi or Lidl special, but you've got a regulated air output and you've got an unregulated air output, usually marked one way or another. This gives you the full pressure that's in the tank. This adjusts the output for this one. You don't always want to use the full pressure that's in the tank. If you're taking an output from this, it usually goes through another regulator, just to keep the pressure right for the tool that you're using. Like any engine, it needs oil, so you've got a sight glass there just to make sure you've got the right amount of oil in, special compressor oil, synthetic oil. Tank itself has a drain valve. As you compress air, it gets full of water. Well, not full of water, but you get quite a bit of water in there. So every time you've been using it at a very low pressure, not when it's full, you undo that, squirts out the last of the air along with some rusty water. This is a safety valve. You can check it from time to time. It usually has the key ring sort of arrangement on it, but pull that out and you'll hear a blast of air. If it goes over its maximum, it shouldn't do because this controls it, but if it goes over its maximum, this should blow off. The main valve on top, you've got a push off, pull on switch, but what this does, it regulates the tank, switches the motor on and off basically to pressurise the tank. So it'll run when I plug it in all the way until it gets up to the red, which is about 120 psi roughly on the main tank. And as I'm using it, as it drops down to about 90, it'll kick back in again, 85 psi thereabouts. It'll kick back in again up to maximum and then switch off, keeping a reasonable pressure in there for use for most things. If you're using it regulated, you'll use it, it'll give you the specifications on the tool you use as to what PSI to use it. And there's also something called CFM. Now if you get one of these, check it's CFM, cubic feet a minute. It's air capacity basically. What that does on this particular one, it's, I think it's 9.5 or something like that. So any air tool I use will have to be under that figure in CFM. So if I bought a spray gun that was 12 CFM, it'd drain the tank faster than I'm filling it basically. So anything under that I'm absolutely fine with. These have an air filter that needs cleaning out periodically. If you get a second-hand one like I did, I'm going to have to rewire that plug at some point just to make sure, for my own peace of mind, make sure everything's tight and where it should be, purely for safety's sake. On the subject of safety, they do recommend that you wear ear protection when using these in an enclosed space. 97 decibels at 1 metre. Yeah, good idea anyway when you're using some of the tools to use gloves and eye protection. But yeah, you can use these for quite a lot of things. There's a selection of the tools here. Got a tyre inflator, standard just air gun, just blasts wind at things, good for blowing dust away and such like. A cutting tool, got a safety lock there, and with a cutting disc on, 3-inch cutting disc. I think everyone will recognise the ubiquitous shape of a spray gun. This is more old-fashioned type now, a lot of gravity fed with a tank at the top, but it'll do a job without a problem. I tend to run these at about 30 psi or thereabouts, and they'll usually mention the psi to use it at somewhere on them. So this recommends 90 psi maximum. So yeah, just follow the instructions. If you're using tools that spin, reciprocate or whatever, you can either put a couple of drops of oil down there before use, or use one of these. This is a filter regulator lubricator. The first part, where my thumb is your filter and regulator. You can set the pressure, so you can put this on the main output of the air tank. This you fill with a lubricant, and it creates a mist or a couple of drops every minute, and you can regulate that. You can set the amount on top there and watch the drops and that little sight glass. If you're doing a lot of spraying, you just need the filter regulator just to take the air, clean the air, take any particles and moisture out, and set the air pressure. You don't want any lubricant getting mixed up with your paint. But for tools like this, they need lubrication. Good idea to use one of these. So ideally you'd need 2 of these setups, and also different pipes for use with the spray guns as you would with rotating and reciprocating tools, cutting tools and the like. Get all sorts, sanders, grinders, reciprocating saws, you name it. Right, let's show you how the compressor works. Okay, this is going to give about a minute's worth of noise. Watch the gauge. Once that gets up into the red, then we're on full pressure and ready to go. I'll show you what to do, how to fit the tools. On off switch, as I said, push down for off, pull up for on. So once I pull that up, it's going to get noisy, it's going to vibrate a bit. That's up to full pressure, and the regulated side, as you'll see if I turn that, it'll either lower it or raise it to where I want. About there will do for what I want to use it for. This is the standard fitting for these. These are generally universal, so you can fit most things to them, usually, but check your manual. What you do, pull this back, hoping you can see that, shove that in and let go of that collar. That's in tight now. Now you'll notice when I activate that, that goes down. That's its operating pressure. So if I pull this full open, that operating pressure drops to approximately 30, which for this spray gun is about right. You'll also notice this one drops down from its main pressure. Once it goes down a little bit further, then it'll kick in and rebuild the pressure. That's it basically. That's your basics. I'm going to attempt a bit of spraying now. It's probably a good idea to show you how these things release as well. Basically, opposite. Pull that back. There you go. Easy as that. Startling if you're not used to it, but as easy as that. Portability is a big advantage of these. Once you've got it charged up with air, if your car isn't nearby, for instance, if it's just down the road, if you don't have a driveway, need to pump the tyres up, you can carry it. One word of caution though is when this cylinder is charged with air, it's effectively a bomb, so yeah, be very careful. Common sense in all things, but especially around something like that that's potentially dangerous. To be fair, it's only as dangerous as the person using it, but yeah, just think on is the main thing. Okay, paint's mixed reasonably thin. As you can see, I've already started just coopering onward. These 2 coats, water based, watered it down, about half a tank full. This is a pallet Christmas tree that somebody made for my wife. She celebrates Christmas, so thought I'd spray instead of brushing it with cuprinol. Not a bad finish, easier than fanning about with brushes. Anyway, when you've completed your task, whatever it is you're doing, you'll need to clean your tools. So that's a water-based paint, so that's going to be easy to clean. And then I'll have to drain the tank down there, and I'll show you that in a moment. Need to drain the air tank now, so I've got the air blaster attached to the main tank pressure, so I'm not going through the regulator, and I'm going to use this to drain the air from the tank. And to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, I'm going to use this to dry off the spray gun I've just been using. Right, so I'm going to let most of the air out of here until it gets to about 1 bar. You'll notice it's not kicking back in because I've unplugged it. Okay, you can see that's at 1 bar now, or it should be plus 1 bar, so 1 bar more than atmosphere. So let's drain the tank. Just enough to make it hiss, and you'll see some rusty water come out with it. Once that's stopped hissing, then all the pressure will be out of the tank. Nip that valve back up again. Don't take it all the way out, so if you unscrew it all the way, because of the pressure in the tank, it flies out like a bullet. Quite dangerous, so yeah, think on. There we go. Nip that up. And it's ready for the next session. Well, hopefully you found that video useful. If you did and you'd like to see more like this, please subscribe to my channel and hit that like button. Thanks for watching. See you next time.